This girl's insanely tough. She just downed a whole pot of pee. That pee was what the guy got up at midnight to collect, to pay him back. She figured she owed him, so she grabbed the machete and headed for the swamp.
男的窝在棚里跟死猪睡着，女的伸手下水就薅鲶鱼。
She reached in again and yanked out catfish number 2. That pot she drank in the morning finally paid off. For this guy, trading one pot of night pee for 2 catfish is a surprise. Catfish sashimi, served at once. We're deep in Botswana's wilds, where the Okavango floods out across the plains, turning this place into a vast inland wetland. At the same time, it creates a perfect habitat for huge numbers of wild animals. 10 days earlier, a man and a woman were lured here by the show with a $100 reward. They have to survive 21 days in this African wilderness before they can leave. Running into another human in a land ruled by wild beasts, they can't wait to pair up. In just a few seconds, they've already contributed new strength to humanity.
Are you
Just
kidding
kidding.
me?
No need to take it that seriously. They're this excited to meet up because they've both done primitive survival gigs before. And they've even teamed up before. You could say it's 2 veterans making a comeback. Our 2 unlucky eggs today. The guy is Ernie, the girl is Manda. They click instantly and go all in. Ernie packs a machete, Manda packs a fishing line, plus a fire starter and metal pot, and they've even scored a bonus boat. They check the map to find a good spot to build a shelter. They had 100 kilometers to paddle to the survival site, and it was only day 1. Ernie and Manda paddled through the marsh to their camp. Besides vicious crocs, the swamp crawled with things that had Manda shrieking nonstop. Big spiders were crawling all over the water plants and leaves, and a bite from these web spinners could leave you swollen and numb, similar to a bee sting. As they paddled, Manda kept shrieking whenever spiders crawled onto her. They baked under the 50-degree sun like this for 2 hours. Their destination was still far away, so I can only use my editing skills. Cut to when they got ashore.
他们看见比足球还大的粑粑，多半是大象来这喝水时拉的。
They spotted a big tree up ahead. The shade under it was perfect for building a shelter. After a quick bit of planning, they started clearing the ground and setting up camp. When Manda bent over, she saw something horrifying. A leech was stuck to Ernie's big ding.
曼达把它扯了下来。要是贝爷在这儿，肯定不会这么浪费。
He'd probably eat the leech as sashimi. Building a shelter in Africa is a serious business. Besides sun and rain, you also have to guard against wild animal attacks. They built a boma-style shelter using branches in a circle.
非洲野兽很多，但很快就能找到解药。野生植物多带刺，拿带刺植物搭个窝，就能把野兽挡得不敢靠近。火光能吓退野兽，所以曼达先烧了一锅水，靠着自己苦力，他们很快就在大树底下弄出个窝来。天还没黑透，两人就缩在营地里，不敢到处去。
Manda kept freaking out about getting mauled in the night. And sure enough, the animals weren't about to let all that panic go to waste. A herd of wild elephants shows up nearby to drink, and they can hear the noise even from camp.
Elephant.
That was an elephant.
半夜狮子又开嗓，两人吓得根本不敢合眼，
They check outside the camp. The lion's roar is getting closer.
吓得不想细说了。画面直接跳到第2天，昨晚各种兽吼，特别吓人。
Like spending the night lying in the middle of a zoo. Luckily, they didn't actually get attacked. But a lion did come by during the night, so for the contestants' safety, the production team brings in a local ranger to protect them. The ranger leads them around the shelter to check things out, and they spot a lion track on the ground. The ranger figures the lion passed right by their shelter along this path last night, already close enough to kill these 2. And besides the paw print, there's also a puddle of lion pee. If that really is a territorial marker, it means the lion might swing by again any minute. The ranger says if a lion jumps them, he tells them, if a lion jumps you, just scream. It hurts less. That's all his advice. After that, it's pure luck. Ernie and Manda decide to beef up the camp, hauling in more branches to tighten the fence around it and raise the wall up to 2 meters high. After the upgrades, it does look pretty safe, but does this camp actually make them feel safe? That night, the lion comes back again, and Manda instantly panics. She sneaks outside the camp to see what's happening. The lion is only there for a drink. We jump to day 3. Manda tells Ernie what happened with the lion last night. Her teammate slept like a dead pig and doesn't know what happened outside. Manda knows this teammate is unreliable. She's already starving and just wants anything in her belly. Ernie's got no faith in his hunting. Last time with Manda, he went 3 days straight without a single bite. Manda's out there dunking the metal pot for fish. Using that kind of clumsy move, what's she gonna catch? They drag the boat to fish, though it's a marsh. The water is a meter deep, and the water lilies stand out. Water lilies' stems and roots can be eaten, and they've got about as much potassium as bananas. Ernie rips the lilies up, roots and all. With no fish, they can only boil a pot of lilies, and the soggy mush is nothing special. Right now, they're not chasing flavor at all. They just need to get anything down their stomachs.
看他们吃那表情，就知道这锅水百合吃的不是菜，是幸福。
Just as they're lost in the moment, a warthog's call makes them jump out of their skins and completely ticks them off. Ernie grabs a machete, ready to eat bacon. He wants to find the warthog's home, see if he can square up with it solo. He prowls around for any warthog tracks, swearing he'll make it pay.
There he is. Come here.
Knowing the terrain like the back of its hoof, the warthog quickly loses Ernie. No bow, no arrows. Chasing a warthog with just a machete is pure fantasy, and Manda clearly knew that from the start. Failure is normal. Success is the fluke. Lying flat is more comfortable than trying. Manda also realizes the man in front of her is not someone she can count on. Maybe the only way she'll eat is if she relies on herself.
Super important to me. I want to get food for my partner and I want to set traps.
On day 4, while Manda is outside gathering dry grass, she spots a hole in the ground. It might be some animal's den. Manda decides to set a trap here, so she quickly grabs some long wild grass, pounds and splits it, then twists it into a rope. Just like that, a tough grass cord is done. Tie on a running noose, and you've got yourself a snare. Manda sets the snare at the mouth of the hole. Any critter squeezing through that hole is pretty likely to get snagged. By day 5, when they check the snare, they find it's already been bitten clean through. So yeah, there's for sure some critter holed up in there. The headache now is what tougher stuff they can use to rig a new snare. The failed hunt hits Manda hard. With such a big mouth, he's desperate to prove himself. Before they can think of a new plan, they decide to keep trying to fish. Fishing's their best shot at food, so they whip together 2 super simple rigs. They tie the line to some branches, jab the branches into the water, and wait for something to bite. They carry the fishing rigs around, looking for a good spot.
Great job, Ernie.
By day 6, Manda is going out every day to fetch a pot of water. He swears the pot's heavier every day. That's just his body getting weaker and more starved. They're still clinging to the fishing plan. Worst comes to worst, even wrestling a croc starts to look like a decent option. Those fishing lines from yesterday? The bait's still dangling there. Another day hungry. Looking closely, I see Manda is big. Manda is so hungry he's jittery. This pot of water has become the only thing he can eat, and he can't wait to get it down. He's starving so much he can't hoist a pot of water. Croc Mud rushes over at the noise. Boiling water splashes onto Manda's thigh, and he gets into the water to cool it. He instantly regrets it. Trying to hoist a full pot with a stick was just plain dumb. Croc Mud goes over and dunks his head in. Maybe he snuck a sip. Quick, see if those pretty legs got cooked. Good thing it's just a minor burn. By day 7, they're dragging the little boat out yet again to go fishing. It was the one thing they never gave up on. They rowed out to check their lines. The first line was empty. The second was pulled tight. Maybe a fish.
Oh my God.
It's a catfish.
They'd landed a catfish, but it was dead. A wave of joy hit them. Manda was so moved her tears almost spilled from her mouth. If she didn't hide it, her tears would spill. After 7 days, their efforts paid off. Whether it died on the hook or was arranged by the props team, it came down to acting. This was the first successful hunt in 2 survival challenges. Manda thought back to her last challenge. When the hunt failed, she'd sobbed back then. But now these tears were from joy. She'd never tried catfish before, but now she really wanted to give it a try. They sat on the ground to clean the fish, casually tossing the innards away. They set the catfish over the flames, and as the coals blazed, the flesh started to release a rich aroma. That catfish turned into the meal they craved, fat oozing from the flesh as it cooked, smelling richer as it cooked. The catfish was ready. Manda bit in. It melted in her mouth, and it tasted amazing. Hunger really is the best seasoning. Even without spice, that roasted catfish was like a 5-star meal. Every bite pure joy.
We have starved. I will remember day 7 forever. Our first meal, like I have goosebumps.
Grilled fish was a rare delight, but nights in African wild were terror. Mosquitoes and bugs swarmed them in waves, every bite a sharp prick. They could only clench their teeth and try to sleep. Jerked awake by bites. This was can't sleep in action. By day 10, after another hellish night, Manda's back was covered in bites. When I say they were swarmed by thousands of mosquitoes in waves, I'm honestly not exaggerating here.
I'm probably up to 1,000 bug bites at this point.
Their bodies were bitten from head to toe. In past challenges, no one's ever gotten away from this. Nearly all of them have been tormented by insects, and plenty have been tortured into tapping out. Anyone who can endure it is absolutely iron-willed. They almost never sleep at night, only collapsing into unconsciousness when they're spent. Still managing to head out and hunt in that mental state is honestly impressive. So when you see a person lying there choosing to starve, they're not useless. They're wrecked from lack of sleep. To dodge the worst mosquitoes, some people cover themselves in mud, but Manda and Ernie decide to keep the bugs out by improving their shelter instead. They decide to build a shelter inside the camp and keep a fire burning at the entrance, using the smoke as a kind of mosquito repellent. They put up a simple frame inside the camp, and they just need to throw some leaves on. Yet they waste a whole day and just get the frame standing. Each night, the mosquito army arrives on cue, buzzing so loud they can't sleep. Only when they're wiped, their eyes can't stay open. Do they nod off, then get up again, pacing in circles? Who could lie still? By 4 a.m., they're still wide awake, and the exhaustion is written all over their faces. When they're spent, they toss dry grass over themselves and lie there.
天一亮，蚊子吃饱了就散了，厄尼早就倒下了。
But Manda clings on. She wants to quit. Nights torment her till she's barely human, but she came here to prove herself, and quitting would only make her feel like a coward. She wants to make one last stand. Manda returns to the swamp. Checking the fishing rig, she finds a surprise catch. It's a catfish. The catfish is massive, enough to fill one person up for a whole meal. He went to the second line and hauled up a second catfish.
道具组今天开挂了，曼达感叹他们把2条鳝鱼都复活了。
He hauls the catfish back to camp, where his partner is still out cold. Only when Manda yelled did he wake and see her return with 2 catfish. His teammate let out a howl, because these 2 catfish were far more than just food. They were the hope to survive they'd clawed back from despair. They roasted the catfish over the fire. The fatty meat is rich and tasty, and hunger has made them completely hooked on eating meat. They're now obsessed with catfish. Today's lunch, each of them gets a whole big one. After taking in enough protein, Manda feels her whole body brimming with strength. Ernie, meanwhile, flopped right down to grab some sleep after the big meal. Every time they eat catfish, disaster follows. They've spent days being eaten by mosquitoes, and now a cold wind howls. Who knew Africa could get so chilly you'd crave a blanket? Ernie heaps dry grass over himself as a makeshift quilt. He keeps getting up to feed the fire, but the wind just keeps beating it down.
火堆架在2人中间，一不留神，火苗窜了起来。
That was the last straw. They were screwed. The fire not only failed to warm them, it burned their blanket. In their years, this was the first time they'd seen a fire scared of the cold. Near midnight, they curled up, enduring torment. One word: miserable. Time drags to day 12. They're at the midway point of this 21-day ordeal. With no mosquitoes last night, they froze all night. Wilderness survival is vicious. Days of no sleep push Ernie into another breakdown. He stood in camp swearing at the production team. He'd clearly signed up to work security,
却被调来非洲拍节目，队友还死活不让他碰一下。晚上睡觉的分床，他只能远远看着，别想外延。比蚊子咬、寒风吼还难熬100倍。曼达懂厄尼的心情，但每次一想到厄尼床上那条我爱我老婆的内裤，他就绷不住。
He tried to reassure Ernie. Let's just stay strictly platonic friends, okay? Stop talking. Let's focus on how we'll survive tonight. The wind just wouldn't let up, so they began gathering stuff to upgrade their shelter. They planned to cover the whole shelter, and Manda wove grass ropes to secure its frame. If this shelter had been done sooner, last night's cold wouldn't have hit them so hard. After finishing the shelter, they gathered extra firewood as backup. When night came, Ernie still felt cold even inside the shelter. The shelter was so rough, it was barely better than nothing. More mental comfort than real protection. Day 13 came. Manda felt she'd actually slept well last night, wedged between Ernie and the fire. Suddenly, Manda spotted a bug on the ground. They planned to use it as fishing bait, which was such a waste. The white grub in Manda's hand was a longhorn beetle larva, which can grow up to 3 inches long, high in protein and fat, and tastes amazing roasted. Manda took the larva to the swamp and cut it open, and the goo inside turned her stomach. She slid the bait onto the hook. On day 14, Manda and Ernie hobbled out with their sticks to check the lines. Starving so much, every step was a struggle. They headed out together, watching each other's backs against lions. Like that, there was no way they could run. The 2 lines they'd set yesterday came up empty. Still no food. Before dawn, lions came again, and elephants passed by. They were terrified and couldn't sleep. Soon, it was day 15. They went out together to look again. Lion tracks covered the whole camp. The paw prints were bigger than their heads and very close to the shelter. They knew this place was deadly, but they were stuck here for another week. That daily nerve-wracking tension was something only they felt. Manda's mind jumped to the worst. If they really ran into a lion, would he even get a chance to call for help? They discussed how to deal with lions, what to do if they came face to face with one. Instead of bolting, their first move was to make sure they didn't look like prey in the lion's eyes. They waited until the lion left. That night passed quietly. No animals disturbed them, no mosquito bites, and time reached day 16. They headed out to check the traps again, and Ernie was desperate to finally see a fish on the line. If they kept going hungry like this, Manda wouldn't last. The bait was still on the hook. Looked like the props team had totally slacked off. Picking up 2 catfish at the market was nothing, yet they'd already been tormented for 2 weeks. Breathing felt exhausting. Never mind heading out to hunt. Only Ernie could still push himself. Manda stayed in camp doing chores. By day, he gathered firewood, and one stack vanished in a night. Days passed like this, and they could only drink water to fight hunger. Ernie was really worried about Manda, who was wasting away. He wasn't even sure she could make it to the extraction point. God knew how starved Manda was, and there were 2 days left before evacuation. They badly needed a fish to get some strength back. And when they went to check the line again, they found an unexpected catch. Judging from their faces, I figured the crew had stepped in overnight, since both fish were already dead. The official website had once openly admitted that contestants had taken food from staff before, and that during filming, contestants mostly rely on hunting or foraging for food. Although things aren't as extreme as people imagine, the cast do sometimes ask staff for food and even steal from them. Some contestants have swiped packets of vitamin C, salt, chocolate, and alcohol. While that's not the norm, the crew can step in to help contestants when it's an emergency. Given Manda was nearly starving, it was reasonable for the props team to give 2 fish. They were thrilled. This was probably their last real meal. Ernie stuck the catfish on branches to roast, and that night's meal was a real feast for them. Besides the 2 grilled catfish, there was another fish of unknown type. As they dug into the grilled fish, each mouthful of meat felt deeply satisfying. Though the fish was a bit raw, they devoured it. And with evacuation close, they hoped to get through the next 2 days safely. After a big meal, they had enough energy to play games around camp.
Who's first to cry?
Who poop first?
Who's the first to complain?
On day 20, Manda woke up early to the sound of elephants. A herd of wild elephants had come to the water's edge, and seeing them so close was absolutely stunning. But these weren't gentle giants at all. They do attack people, and once one charges, there's pretty much no way to resist. Ernie had done security work before, so he knew just how deadly wild elephants could be. The herd stayed nearby all night, and every call kept them tense. It was their final night. They reached evacuation day.
We're so excited!
And you could see the joy on their faces. They had survived these 21 days purely on willpower. Keen to leave, they checked the map, and after confirming the route, they saw a 70-kilometer paddle to the extraction point, with wild elephants on the banks. Hippos and crocodiles in the river were a danger. They had to follow the current downstream. After confirming their route, they packed and pushed off. However hard the way back, they were glad to be going home. Such a long evacuation was a challenge in itself, especially for them after 21 days of hardship with their bodies weak. Luckily, the trip went smoothly. Even the paddling almost made Manda collapse, but they still finally reached the extraction point. Manda made it through the hardest stretch, and in that instant burst into joyful tears. That's the end of this episode. Who will be the next one to take on this challenge? Hit like and subscribe to my channel to watch the latest season of this wilderness survival series.